All right, little REMs. I love it. Welcome to another edition of Next Generation Tech Talks my name is Phil Calzadilla. I'm the CEO and founder of NextNet Partners. And today I am really pleased to have with me David Feinglass. David is a solutions engineer at Zerto. Zerto is one of our great disruptive partners that we just love working with and have had some great client experiences. So David, tell me, what brought you to Zerto? I know when I looked at your background, you were definitely a cloud backup, disaster recovery guy. You've been in that business for quite some time, business continuity. What brought you to Zerto?
Sure, thanks, Phil. So in my last life, I was a solutions engineer for a cloud service provider and data center, and we were trying to migrate a customer from their data center into our data center. And at the time, we didn't have access to Zerto, so we were using some other tools, and it took about 3 months and a lot of meetings and a lot of calls and a lot of changes and a lot of reconfigurations to get 90 VMs migrated from one site to another. Later on, after that was all done, and my company adopted Zerto as its tool to do disaster recovery and migrations, we quickly learned that entire process could have been done in about 2 to 3 days with no reconfigurations whatsoever to the client's environment. And so I thought, wow, that's a pretty impressive change and a lot simpler and easier than the old ways of doing things. So I thought to myself, well, if you can't beat them, you should probably join them. So I took a look at Zerto and saw that it was a really great growing company, and had a few other friends that worked there, so it was kind of a natural fit.
I love it. That's great. So when basically what would have taken 90 days, basically, you got it down to 2 to 3 days to get by using Zerto, and that's fantastic. So David, talk to us about Zerto. So you mentioned replication and moving data over for clients. I mean, talk to us a little about what does Zerto actually do?
Sure. So primarily, Zerto is a business continuity and disaster recovery software tool that replicates virtual machine workloads from one site to another and orchestrates the failover of those workloads, either for a disaster recovery or for a migration.
Nice. And what are some of the key things that differentiate Zerto? Because I know I'm hearing from my team, I mean, certainly setup time is fast, and there's a lot of things out there. But what do you guys see as some of the key things from Zerto compared to other products that are out there in the market today for DR?
Sure. So there's probably 3 primary reasons why you'd want to look at Zerto. First is simplicity. It can be installed, configured, set up, replicating, and then testing failover in under an hour. And so that I don't know of any other product that meets that sort of incredible simplicity and ease of use.
That setup is
amazing. When you're choosing the machines you want to protect, you simply pick and choose which machines, and you don't have to worry about whether they're on a certain LUN or a certain volume or a certain host. It's very simple and easy to use. The next one would be power or performance, really. So when Zerto replicates from the hypervisor level, we get recovery time objectives measured in minutes and recovery point objectives measured in just seconds, an average of just a few minutes to fail over with 4 clicks, and recovery point objective or data loss measured in seconds. We see an average of less than 10 seconds of data loss for all of our customers.
That's amazing. A lot in the tech business, we refer to that as RTO and RPO, and those numbers are fantastic, right? Seconds of data loss, that can mean a lot to a company.
Absolutely. And then the third really important reason why you might want to look at Zerto is the flexibility. Because we are replicating from the hypervisor layer and not from the storage or the operating system layer, we're very agnostic or independent to any storage platform. And also within the hypervisor, any VMware version from 4.0 Update 1 all the way up through current 6.0 Update 2, and also HyperV 2012. So we give you some sort of flexibility to basically plug Zerto into any virtualized environment and start using it quickly and easily, so you don't have to reconfigure a lot of what you're doing just to make Zerto work.
That's great. And it totally separates it from the storage layer. So it doesn't matter what my storage vendor is, or what products I have in. As long as I'm virtualized, Zerto can take that and work with those amazing RTO and RPO numbers.
Absolutely. You can have different storage vendors at the production site versus the recovery site. You can have the same vendor but different make and model. You can have the same make and model but different firmware version. So when you just look at how you would administer to your environment, you could upgrade the firmware or the make and model or even the storage vendor at one site, leave the other site alone, and Zerto will continue to protect without any interruption or any issues.
Great. And it's interesting to me because backup, disaster recovery, business continuity, a lot of this, for years, it was kind of like the redheaded stepchild in the data center and in business. Like, oh yeah, we do that, or backup to tape or whatever. But it's become so much more important, right? I mean, clients really care about this. What are you seeing out there?
Yeah, so as you mentioned earlier, I started out in the disaster recovery industry back in the mid-'90s, and you're right, it was sort of something that everybody talked about, but it was kind of a low priority. But as more and more businesses become dependent on their IT for more and more of the actual business processes that they run, and specifically as entire industries have cropped up that depend exclusively on their IT, that are 100% IT-based. Think of like the online retailer, for example.
Oh, yeah.
That the priority for keeping machines up and running, keeping your environment up and running has moved from the back burner onto the front. And as the threats increase, not just the natural disasters and the man-made disasters, but the sort of security type of disasters, the crypto lockers and the ransomware, and as more and more companies depend on their IT, there's more and more bad stuff happening out there that you want to protect against. And so the importance of disaster recovery and business continuity is really coming to the front. It's now it's now really mission number one is to keep everything up and running.
Oh yeah, and it's so amazing. To your point, it's not just about having a disaster happen, but it's about security, about the crypto lockers. We just did a seminar recently at the DBAX where we had a CISO service that we're offering come out, and he actually showed how you can go onto an Onion router and get in the black web and actually download these crypto software, crypto lockers for like $1, $5. You can get a list of the software, and you can actually turn it on and sell it as a service. And it's just so prevalent out there. We have clients that we're talking to today that, if they didn't have their setup done correctly, where they had disaster recovery and backup that were strong, they would be totally beholden to these crypto lockers that are out there.
Absolutely, yeah. When it's as easy for somebody to get their hands on a crypto locker and then use it to threaten your business, when it's as easy to do that as it is to buy T-shirts on Amazon, that's when you know that the protection and the recovery and the solutions to help keep you safe need to be just as nimble and just as agile.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, nowadays, if the network's down or your application's down, that you're running your ERP or you're running some large some application that's important to your company, if that's down, pretty much you're down. The business is down. People have to go home because they can't get their jobs done. It's not like the old days where you're like, oh, we can still do things manually over phones. It's a lot of us are beholden to making sure that our apps work and that our data networks are operating.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. IT is, every day more and more critical to the operation. And in the old days, the ability to sort of go back to manual processes was sometimes viable because, you could do things the old way on paper for a limited amount of time and be okay.
Right.
And with the interdependencies of all the different systems that people run today, like you said, ERP and all these databases, it's just less viable to run without your IT for any period of time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Plus, we're all running around with iPads and iPhones, and we're running our whole businesses off these devices now, and they're running off an app somewhere, and that app is in the data center, and it's exactly what we're backing up and making sure that we can recover quickly from. So that's great. So very, very, anything else you want to make sure that our listeners understand about the Zerto offering?
Well, we've kind of touched on it, the basics, but because it is a software package and it is easy to install, and because it sort of frees you up from having to administer or manage or change your environment in sort of unnatural ways just to make replication and protection happen. I think it is something that a lot of customers are looking at these days. The old ways of doing DR were really kind of cumbersome and difficult and in some cases extremely costly.
Yeah.
And Zerto just has a very simple, easy model. You just pay for per protected virtual machine. So you just buy what you need and install it quickly without having to jump through a lot of hoops and bridges, and get your protection happening, and then you can sort of sleep at night.
Yeah, exactly right. This is not your dad's DR, right? This is this is next generation DR, and it's how you really need to manage your applications nowadays. It's great.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much, David. I appreciate it. We really try to add value in these podcasts to our clients. We want to make sure they understand some of the new technologies that are out there. Zerto is certainly just really a powerhouse in terms of being disruptive and offering real impact to clients on the other side, where they can bring your product on and have that RPO and RTO within seconds. It's great. So thank you, everybody, for listening. We have plenty of other podcasts that you can listen to as well on HyperFlex and other new technologies. So make sure to pull one of those. And if you need more information on NextNet, pull us up at nextnetpartners.com or send us an email at info@nextnetpartners.com, or the old-fashioned way, you can call us at 602-247-8600. Thank you. Thanks, David.
Thanks, Phil. Appreciate it.